Beth, do we have everyone online?
I am looking right now. I see Lisa. We're still actually some people are still coming on.
Okay.
Where I'm looking for Webster. I know Mark will not be with us. Becky, I see Becky.
I don't think I have Webster yet.
We don't have Webster yet. And Larry, I sure do appreciate those hot air balloons today. I can't hear you're on mute. Okay. Rick, I think we're just waiting for, I see Dr. Chapman. I think we're just waiting for Webster at this point.
Okay. Let me know when he shows up.
Okay. You just want to give him a minute or two?
Sure.
Okay.
Beth, I was telling you the hot air balloons are Okoboji, Iowa.
Okay.
Yeah, that's sunrise at Okoboji.
So you can actually put your own pictures in there.
Yeah, you can. Yep. Even I finally figured it out. It took me a while to do it since I'm not the most technical person in the world. But
you might have to come show me. I have no idea how to do that.
I'm not sure I could repeat it.
Understood.
Hello?
Webster, are you with us?
Hi, this is Dr. Morris, Matt Morris.
Oh, hi, Dr. Morris. Okay. Webster, there's some numbers I don't recognize. Is Webster with us yet?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see his name yet.
I don't either.
Is this all over Zoom, and there's no physical meeting in IMCC, is there?
No, we're on Zoom right now, Doc.
Okay,
so if you want to, you can turn your camera on, or
I don't have a camera on my computer here. I guess I could turn it on my phone, maybe. I should know how to do that, but I don't.
That's all right. That's all right. And what we'll do is just mute yourself. Once the meeting starts here, just go ahead and mute yourself. That way we can, everyone basically goes on mute unless someone's presenting. So.
Yeah, I don't have one. Oh, okay. Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Thank you. Mike's going to work on my camera, so.
Okay. Rick, I do not see Webster at this time. I'm not sure if you just want to go and get started. That's totally up to you.
Well, we can certainly do that.
Maybe he'll join us.
Hopefully. All right, well, let's get started. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the December 2020 meeting. This will be the last meeting of the year. Our first item that we have is to approve last month's agenda. Or I'm sorry, the minutes from the last meeting. I'm asking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of approving the meeting, say the minutes, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, the minutes have been approved from our last meeting. Our next board meeting is going to be January 8th, 2021. And we'll wait to see if that's going to be a Zoom or we'll actually meet in person. To start the meeting off, we've got the welcoming comments by Dr. Beth Skinner.
Yes. Thank you, Rick. Appreciate it. Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. It's a beautiful Friday, November Friday, that is. So Happy to be here today. The two things I'm really going to discuss this morning here, briefly, I'm going to just talk about the population. I'm not going to go into as great as detail as I normally do. I really want to spend more time talking about the COVID situation that we're having here and at the IDOC. But just to give you a quick update in terms of our population numbers across the prison, as you all know, our prison capacity, we were over capacity at 22% in March. As of today, we're at 6.7% over capacity. Our population count is 7,346. Our prison count has declined by 1,100 inmates since COVID started in March. What I really want to shift the focus to now is really talking about our COVID numbers and what's been happening with COVID. We had a couple weeks in the past couple weeks where we had some stabilization, not a lot of cases. But as you know, when cases rise in the community, as they have in Iowa over the past few weeks, our prisons that are in those communities are impacted by those when those numbers increase in our communities. So we've seen some increases in prisons we have not seen before. So I want to take you through first. I'm basically going to talk about the current number of positives we're seeing in our prisons. I want to talk about hospitalizations. I'll talk about our pending test, our upcoming tests, and I'll talk about number of staff out due to COVID. So that's kind of going to be the order of information I'm going to share with you all today. So first, I'd like to talk about the individuals incarcerated and what numbers we're seeing in terms of positive cases as of last night. At Anamosa, we have 481 positive cases. We did just do mass testing on Tuesday. At Clarinda, we have 94 positive cases. Fort Dodge right now, we have 0 cases. As you know, at one point we had a significant spread there where we were able to contain. ICIW has 4 positives, and that's a first for them as well as ASP. IMCC has 3 positive cases. ISP has 1 positive case. Mount Pleasant has 20 positive cases. Newton has 0 cases and is still yet to have a case. North Central Correctional Facility has 3 cases. So we have a total of 607 positive cases for individuals incarcerated in Iowa. So in terms of hospitalizations, we have 6 hospitalizations. We have 4 on the COVID floor at UIHC and 2 in ICU right now. So that brings us 4 from Anamosa, 1 from Mount Pleasant Correctional Facility, and 1 from Clarinda Correctional Facility. We still have some pending tests out there that I want to share with you. At Anamosa State Penitentiary, so we still have 15 pending tests from this week. Iowa State Penitentiary, we have 3 pending COVID tests. IMCC, we have 97 pending tests. Newton, we have 34. ICIW, we have 20. Fort Dodge, we have 138 pending tests. North Central Correctional Facility, we have 427. We mass tested them this week. Clarinda, we have 535 pending tests, and Mount Pleasant, we have 50 for a total of 1,319 pending tests. Of course, with our MAP, our Master Action Plan, which we follow very diligently, we have to retest. And so we have plans for retesting some of these facilities that we tested this week because of the incubation period and things like that. So ICIW and Anamosa State Penitentiary will be retesting, mass testing, which means their whole population on next Tuesday. North Central Correctional Facility will mass test on next Wednesday. And Clarinda and Mount Pleasant are in the process of testing their populations in various sections or units. Mount Pleasant will do 50 on 11/5 and 73, well, they did on 7/5, and 73 are scheduled for 11/10, so November 10th. What I do want to tell you is then move on to the staff positives, and then I just want to talk briefly, and then I'll open it up for questions, is that currently we have 80 staff out. They're positive statewide for COVID. what I will tell you is, and you've heard me talk about this before, is that we have daily calls with Incident Command, meaning the Incident Command we have from central office, the doctors, medical staff, administrators, deputies, research, you name it. The governor's office is on that call with the prisons, especially with the prisons that have significant cases. As of late, we've had all the wardens on these calls. So we're doing these daily calls. We're working with public health very closely. We were on a call with them yesterday afternoon in terms of just giving us other more guidance in terms of some of the practices we're doing, as well as the governor's office is definitely in the loop and have been very supportive during this time. And finally, I just want to say, just kind of wrap this up so we can open it for questions, is that staff has really stepped up during this time. You know, we've talked about how this is a marathon and not a sprint, but when we get, a significant outbreak, the marathon turns into a sprint. And our staff have been extraordinary in terms of stepping up, wearing their PPE, looking out for each other, making sure that the staff is staying safe and individuals incarcerated are staying safe. They truly have been heroes. And I just want to do a shout out to all the staff and the leadership across the state of Iowa that they truly have done an extraordinary job in terms of handling COVID, staying the course, protecting each other, protecting those incarcerated. We don't have a lot of sick people, and that's the thing I know that someone's going to ask, and Dr. Greenfield's here with us, but most of these individuals are asymptomatic. There are not a lot of individuals that are very sick. We're keeping a good eye on them. We have medical staff. We've brought in temp nurses. And so we're doing everything we can to make sure these individuals that do have positive COVID cases are getting the treatment and medical attention they need. With that said, I will pause and open up for questions for the board members. Thank you.
Just a quick question, Beth. Do we do tracing when we have, like, for instance, Anamosa's got 400 and some cases? Do we try to trace how all of a sudden that number went up?
We do. We always try to contact trace back to where we think it started. We're always asking those questions, trying to walk backwards in terms of see where that could have came from. We look at the units that they come from. We look at their jobs that they're maybe working at. So we look at all those factors to see, and that helps us in terms of strategizing where we want to test next as well when we do that contact tracing.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. If there's no
Any other questions?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, please
I was just asking if there's any other questions.
Rick, there's one more thing I want to add before you move on the agenda. Is that okay?
Sure.
So I know we're not going to be meeting in December, and when we meet in January, the legislative session will be rolling. So I just want to let you know, since Cord's our legislative liaison, he's working with administration and the governor's office on working on bills. And so I imagine in our January meeting that Cord will present to you all some of the bills that we will be submitting during the legislative session. So I just want to let you know and just kind of say we're working on those now. They're in process. And then since we're not meeting in December, that Cord will be presenting those to you in January.
Okay. Thank
Do you have a time or a date yet, Beth, for your meeting with the governor as far as budget goes? There is nothing set at this point in time. I know Steve's going to talk a little bit more about the budget here in a second. But we continue to have just ongoing communication with Department of Management and the governor's office, but there's nothing in terms of set dates at this point. Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you all.
Okay, if there's no further questions, we'll go to the next item on our agenda, the budget update by our financial manager, Steve Dick.
Good morning, everyone. Wish I could see you in person rather than on the screen. Kind of missed that part of the interaction, but we'll do the best we can. As Beth mentioned, we have been in discussions with all agencies, Department of Management, Governor's Office and such about some of the challenges that we're experiencing this year due to COVID and some of the non-routine ways that we're having to do business. Couple the primary challenges that we're having right now, as mentioned, with the staff being out for either positive results or exposures or such, our overtime numbers are up pretty dramatically from the past years. Some of that is being offset by some of the empty positions at this point in time, but there is an increased cost. So we are really watching that. And as I kind of go forward through the presentation, I'll kind of get to how we're going about seeking reimbursement for some of those costs. The other area that was primarily a major challenge right now is our county confinement budget. The housing of those clients that are awaiting prison in our county jails. And so once again, we'll go into how we're going about seeking reimbursement for that, but that is one of those things that we're definitely keeping our eye on. IMCC and ICIW have done a fantastic job as available. We're moving those folks into our prison, but we've got to be very careful. We've got to be have a good plan in place to try and keep our facilities safe as well. So those are our primary two challenges right now. Once again, we've got a number of vacant positions. Some of those are challenging just due to how the interviews are being done and such. It's just a different atmosphere right now. We are in the process of filling positions. We're continually trying to fill positions, but we currently have about 183 positions vacant in the prisons, 183 FTEs, and about 62 FTEs in the CBCs that are vacant. So as I stated, that helps us, but also, you know, there's a need for those staff. So like I said, we're continuing to attempt to get those filled as we're able to. I'm not going to go into super depth on the handouts, but in general, we should be about a third of the way through the year. We're 4 months into the year. Should be about 33% of our budget spent, and we're just below that on all fronts, on the total department, on the institutions, and then also on our central office appropriations. And once again, there's ebbs and flows. In certain areas, we may be overspending. Certain areas, we may be underspending. But overall, we're in pretty good shape. Some of those increased costs, of course, our PPE purchases have been up significantly. Cleaning products, PPE and such, the things that we aren't necessarily getting through state resources, those have to be purchased so that we can keep our staff and clientele safe. The other thing that kind of sticks out, there was a purchase for one of our grants that we have going right now, a data dashboard. There was an advance payment on, not an advance payment, but payment for services that hadn't been reimbursed by the end of the month of October. We spent the money, but we hadn't gotten reimbursed. That has since been reimbursed in November, but that was about $700,000. So you'll see the 510 line, the IT equipment, appears to be way over budget. It's because of that expenditure. We'll put that in the budget as we receive those revenues, I guess. So those are the two primary things that kind of stick out on those sheets that I just kind of wanted to hit on. So where are we going for our reimbursements and such? We've got, of course, we're keeping, once again, those conversations going with Department of Management and the governor's office as to how we're proceeding, where we're at. But really, we've got three primary sources of money that's being applied for and or being looked at. FEMA, so all PPE purchases, overtime costs for some of the things, depending on if there was an outbreak or not. All that's being run through FEMA at this point in time. There is a caveat, some CARES money that is picking up the amount that is not covered by the feds. So it's a 75-25. So we're also working on getting that part as well. We also had a grant for some technology to improve our communication with our clients. And that could be in CBC with treatment and programming capacity, could be with our staff, getting things in place to be able to make them be able to work remotely. So there is a coronavirus emergency supplemental funds. There was a round one that was given out in June, July. And so we've got a number of projects going right now. As I stated with the data dashboards, that's one of them. There's a second round that's going to be applications close on Monday. We've got a number of projects that are being submitted for consideration in that as well. So districts are submitting, and we're submitting on behalf of the state as well. But another area that we're continuing to look to find efficiency, find different ways of doing things to continue those services being provided to our clientele. The third area, of course, is the CARES funding. That is an area that we're continuing to work with the governor's office on. We're not to the finish line, but we're pretty dang close on getting some help. So once we get that money, we'll get that allocated out to the districts and the institutions to fill some of the gaps that they currently have. So those are our three primary things. Another area that we're kind of working with in the budget side of things is our capitals. We received some technology money in FY20. Some of those projects got completed. Some of the projects, due to what's going on, kind of got delayed. We've got a number of years to be able to spend those funds. So we have projects at ASP, NCCF, Newton, and the 7th District. Some of those are done. Some of those are in progress. We also received some money in FY 2021 from the Technology Fund to improve our building automation systems. So that could be our heating, cooling, and controls. That could be our fire protection controls. All those are operated through panels throughout our facilities in the prisons. 8 of the 9 prisons needed updates of their software, and several of them have panel upgrades that need to happen as well. So we've gotten the procurement piece, the purchasing piece kind of done, and we're working towards striving towards moving those and getting those funds expended, getting those systems updated and ready to go. So that kind of hits the capitals piece. The last piece I wanted to talk about was, so is there any sense of budget cuts or anything like that at this point in time? We have heard nothing at this point in time of any types of cuts. We actually did just get a general fund receipts memo from the Department of Management earlier this week. Still, revenues are still beyond the estimate. So I think that's a good thing at this point in time. There's also some things that have happened with tax returns being delayed and some filing deadlines that I think we'll get a better picture in the next month or two. But at this point in time, there's no one screaming in our ear that, hey, cuts are coming. So we're navigating that going forward as status quo, and expecting that we're going to get to keep our money that we've got, which is a great thing where we're at right now. We need every dollar that we've got. So that's kind of a real quick update of where we're at with some of the challenges we're experiencing, some of the funding that we're looking at, some of the projects we've got going, and kind of a history or where we're at with our funding overall. There has been no indication on, as I think Larry asked, in regards to a meeting with the governor's office for appropriations for next year, what that ask is going to look like. I think last year, if I remember right, Beth, I think that was it wasn't a presentation, it was a conversation with you and the governor, if I remember right. I don't know if that'll be the direction this will be heading again this year due to social distancing and such. I'm assuming so, but we'll make sure we carry that message. We did put forth a status quo budget. However, once again, that letter has been sent over stating all those needs and projects that we would love to have funded if money's available. So we'll make sure that we get those things asked for. So that's kind of what I have. I'll open it up to questions on where we're at.
Steve, this is Mary. You mentioned that there were some positions that we were filling. Could you tell me where are they, or what positions are we? Because I know that in the past, because of budget constraints, we were leaving positions open and to help with the budgeting. So what positions are we filling and where are they?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It is a smattering of a lot of positions. Of course, our primary position in the prisons is correctional officers. So about half of the vacant positions of the 183 that I mentioned earlier at the institutions, about half of them are COs. Once again, it's not that we're necessarily sitting on that entire half. A lot of those are moving forward. It's just a matter of the process has changed a little bit and is a little slower in reacting. And the other side is there are people still leaving, for numerous reasons. There's people that are deciding that this isn't the profession for them, or they've got other things going on. There are, once again, as the labor market kind of condenses and tightens, and our unemployment numbers go down in the state, sometimes that hurts us in that realm. There's other opportunities out there for some of our staff to go another direction, but about half of them are COs. The rest, it's a scattering of a lot of different things. Of course, we do have RNs, LPNs, those types of positions. We have maintenance staff, business office staff. So it's kind of a wide variety, but the bulk are COs. Likewise, in the CBCs, it's once again a lot of different positions, but the bulk of our positions are probation officers and residential officers. So overseeing caseloads and then overseeing the residential facilities. So of course, the majority of our empty positions also coincide with that. Once again, we're not intentionally sitting on all of these positions at this point in time for budget constraints. We've got some of those other funding sources that are, we're seeking at this point in time to hopefully fill the gap and get some of these filled in more timely of a fashion. Does that answer your question, Mary?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Steve, it's Larry. Are we being impacted at all by the auditor's opinion that none of the CARES Act money can be used for technology? Were we counting on any of that to help fund some of the projects we have going with IT?
We have a number of projects, and it's not necessarily CARES funding that's aimed at that. It's that coronavirus emergency supplemental funds that's more aimed towards the technology piece of it. So whether that's once again getting programming out to our clients and CBCs, and or finding infrastructure for our staff to work remotely, all that's being done through that other funding. So the CARES Act isn't necessarily the primary source for that. The CARES Act is going to fill voids in things that are attributable to COVID-19. A lot of that's going to be overtime. That's going to be those things that are large things that we can't get reimbursed other places. So I don't think there's anything technology-wise that we should be concerned with that we were trying to put through CARES that's not going to be funded.
So what you think we're pretty solid footing as far as the applications we have pending for use of the CARES funding, right?
I do, yeah. We've had numerous conversations over the past several months with the governor's office. We've gotten no response that what we put forth is not what they were looking for and or not a good use of those funds. So at this point in time, we're expecting that once we get those funds, we will once again have to prove out and show how we're using those funds. And we'll make sure that it fits within the descriptions of the CARES Act guidelines.
Okay, great.
Any other questions? Well, thank you, Steve.
All right, thank you.
Next item on the agenda is to approve the, let me see, it says discussion and approval of 2021 board meeting schedule. I believe everybody received information that it was suggested that we stick to the same schedule as we had this year because we didn't get to go to anywhere. So I think it would make it some common sense just to stay with the same schedule unless someone's got some objections.
Yeah, I assume the legislative breakfast is up in the air too at this point in time, but I think the schedule looks fine since we did not get to any of these places. So I would certainly move that we accept the proposed meeting schedule for 2021.
Thank you, Larry. Do we have a second?
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, the meeting schedule for next year has been approved. We move on to the next part of our meeting is comments from the public. Is there anyone that wants to say anything? Not getting a response, we'll go to the next item on the agenda is open discussion by the board members. Does anyone have anything to say?
Well, I'm going to just say that I really appreciate everyone's involvement in the fight against keeping COVID out of our prisons and the risks that are associated with that. And I certainly hope that you can convey the board sentiments to the people that work in the Department of Corrections, as well as those who are incarcerated, that we are concerned about that, and certainly hope that we can do our best to help the situation from not spreading any more than it is right now. So
I appreciate that, Larry, and I'll make sure I pass these messages on to our hardworking physicians and medical providers and nurses. Some of them are working 7 days a week. We're trying as hard as we can, and we'll just keep the fight going.
thank you.
Likewise, Larry, appreciate the sentiment, and I will pass it on. It's been quite an interesting battle.
Yeah, it's been an interesting year. I don't want to see a repeat of this anytime soon, that's for certain.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Anyone else have anything to say?
Can I ask, I got a call from Mark. Will we be replacing his position soon, Beth?
Yes, we've already had some contact and initial discussions with actually, I believe court has with the governor's office. And so, yes, we will be looking to replace that position.
Sounds like Mark's gonna do some great things, so I'm happy for him.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, he's going to be a big loss to the board. I always appreciated his thoughts and comments on things, and so certainly commend the work that he did during the time he's been on the board.
Yep, we will miss him and his service, and it looks like he's following his dream at this point. So can't give him a hard time for that, but he truly will be missed by all.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have anything to say? Okay, well, looks like we're coming to the end of our last meeting of this year. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
That sounds like a yes to me.
Yeah.
Sounds like a dog moved it. I'll second it.
All right. Thank you. All those in favor of ending the meeting, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The meeting is officially closed. See you all next year.
Yes, happy holidays to everybody and stay safe.
Yep, happy holidays, everyone. Take care.
Take care, all.